Greetings, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome once again to the Urban Algorithm at the Our World Media Network. It's been a while since I've been on. I'm your host, Wayne Gilman, and I'm glad to be back. Unfortunately, under some really sad circumstances, we're here trying to recall the memory of a Caribbean icon, someone who I know that I grew up with, had an honor of interviewing some years ago at the radio station back in the day, WLIB and WBLS. And, it's so hard to believe that Harry Belafonte has died, even at the age of 96, because he was so active. And just a year ago, they had a huge event at Town Hall in Manhattan to honor him for 95 years of his arduous work in civil rights, entertainment, everything else that's always been connected with Harry. And today we were supposed to have two guests on. We were supposed to have the publisher of the Carib News, Carl B. Rodney, who was a close friend of Harry. But I have someone who I've known for a long time. She's almost like I want to say, I know she's my neighbor, my Bronx neighbor, but she's also like a maternal figure, for lack of a better description. And I hope that's not pushing it too much, and you're welcome to come back and criticize me. But we have the Honorable Sadie Campbell, who is the president of the Jamaica Progressive Urban League, Progressive League, that is, excuse me. And Sadie and I, we go way back. And I couldn't think of somebody else better to have it on this time, because there's so many things that we could talk about with respect to Harry, and also the impact of what he's done with our community and what we need to do going forward. So without further ado, I want to welcome once again Sadie Campbell to the show. Good afternoon, Sadie.
Oh, good afternoon to you and good afternoon to your audience. It's such an honor to be asked to speak on Harry. He's been so close to us. I mean, when I came to the United States in 1964, I lived in Harlem, and Harry was living someplace around in Harlem also. And I remember one day, I saw some ladies running like they were crazy. And I'm saying, well, what are they running from, or where are they running to? And then when I looked, it was on 57th Street in Manhattan. I saw this tall, bronze like a god just strutting down on 57th Street. And all these women were chasing. I said, oh my goodness, who is that person? But I was real honored to know that he was coming from the Jamaica Progressive League building. At that time, the Jamaica Progressive had a building in Manhattan on 57th Street. So that was my first introduction to Harry. I've heard of him. I know, the song Day that come and me want go home. And I was always fascinated by that song because I don't think a lot of people knew what that meant. But we who were in Jamaica and, the banana industry, that was our main support for our livelihood, mostly for persons who live in the rural parts of Jamaica. So when he sang that song, it's people who were taking their bananas to the railroad so that it could be transported to the ships, and it would go, like to England
Overseas.
and to be overseas. So when they say day o, that means that these farmers, they were on the line with their bananas trying to get it sold and tallied. So when they say, come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana, because they've been waiting like all day, waiting to have this tally so they would get paid for their
Right.
bananas. So they were calling on the tallyman to come, because they were so tired. And they said, day that come, I may want to go home. And as a child, young person listening to that, we were dancing because we didn't even consider that these men, this was their livelihood, and they were tired, and they just wanted their bananas to be tallied so they could get the receipt so they could get paid.
Right. You know, it's
So
interesting. I did a little research on that, and the gentleman that actually co-wrote
mhm,
that song just died a couple of years ago. Lord Burgess. He
yes,
was from Brooklyn and of Bajan
Asian.
Virginian
Mhm,
background. And what Harry did, that he put, I guess, his own spin
mhm,
and to popularize that record. Like, it's not really in its original form,
mhm,
but it was so successful that I
mhm.
think it was like number one on the Billboard, what would be considered the Billboard charts back then in the 50s. And of obviously, he did a lot to put the Caribbean people on the map. Didn't matter what island you came from,
You know
you
that,
know. And I
mhm, that's
think that is so
powerful,
symbolic,
so
you know.
powerful. You know that the islands, they were connecting because we have reasons to be connected.
Exactly.
So that bringing together, and you know what, we have lost that kind of connectivity, the working together. And I'm thinking now with Harry, what Harry had presented and what this gentleman who passed, how could we bring those two powers together and say, people, this is what we need to do so we can show that our contributions to this, not to the world, you know,
Right.
started with our connectivity and to each other, and that is so important. You see, I'm holding this was for his Harry's birthday last year.
Right, right. I didn't
This,
get a chance to attend. I know you did, and I
yes,
wanted to. I forgot why, but I understand it was well attended. A lot of luminaries from all over the world, not just the Caribbean alone, but
yeah,
African American artists. Whoopi Goldberg, I know, attended. She was there, and people from overseas, Europeans. He was embraced and loved by everyone. And the one thing that I wanted to talk to actually Carl Rodney, and I know that there are so many events going on. I know the
mhm,
Reverend Al Sharpton is having something right now as we speak, so maybe Dr. Rodney was attending that because he's all over the place, but he did confirm to come on this afternoon.
right,
But nonetheless, it's when I look at his history, I just can't look at one episode because in his life because he almost lived 100 years and he was
yes,
still active to the very end. I mean, he was still
he was
doing
aging.
movies up to 2018. I
Yeah,
know
he
that
was.
his last film was with Spike Lee.
Mhm.
But going back to the 50s, and I know this may be slightly before your time.
Yeah, yes, a lot before my
Right.
time.
Okay. All right. Well, I will
I'm
speak for
sorry.
myself. I was
Yeah.
still in the crib, but I used to hear my mother talk about the importance of Harry Belafonte making this film with Dorothy Dandridge. Can't think of the name of the film, but it was extremely popular.
Mhm.
But yet there was a lot of pushback from the white community about their images being on screen.
and,
Talk a
and
little
that's
bit
why
about that.
he couldn't. They were not allowed to kiss, even though it was a romance film. He was not allowed to kiss her. That's what I heard. I'm holding this up because this was his birthday card that we from the Jamaica Progressive League. His
Oh,
95th birthday card.
beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, so this was what we gave to them. But talking about his, he was an actor of, I mean, great renown, and the fact that they would not allow during the 50s, would not, even though it was supposed to be a romance film,
Hmm.
they would not allow them to embrace or whatever. Some persons had some problem with that.
Right.
And so we have come a long way because you say, well, he broke that mold.
Hmm.
And
And it wasn't just the color barrier, because I think
no,
Arnold Preminger, the producer and the director of the film, obviously was trying to put a black spin on this particular. I can't think of the name of the film off the top of my
No,
head,
I remember.
but it has been memorialized, and it's like in
Mhm.
the Smithsonian Institute, I understand.
I'm
So
sure.
we're grateful that at least somebody had the common sense and understanding to see the
Mhm.
importance of what was going on. But moving forward, during the height of the civil rights movement in the '60s, someone else who I had the pleasure of getting to meet and work with some years ago, Dr. Clarence Jones, who was Martin Luther King's right speechwriter and right
Mhm.
hand, and his attorney at one point. He also had a close relationship with Harry, and Harry was instrumental in extracting money from the entertainment community
Oh,
to fight the civil rights issues that
movement,
were
yes.
taking place at that particular time. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that, if you can.
Well, what I understand that he funded, he did a lot to fund Martin Luther King's whatever Martin Luther King was doing towards civil rights.
Mm-hmm.
He was a part of that, and he put up his own funds, his own monies
Right.
to fund these efforts. That's what I understood. That's those are some of the things he did, and he was very close to King because he was the one that supported or gave moral support to the family after
Mm-hmm.
King had died.
Died, right.
He was very
And
real.
not just with the King family, but the Kennedys as well. You know, both
Yes,
Jackie and Robert. You
yes, he
know,
he was like what they call the personal comforter for all
right?
these things.
Yeah.
To give him that name because he had the knack of putting people at ease, and that's what I think he was mostly known for. So even though it was racism was high in those days, people were comfortable with him. He had that type of personality, so he
And
broke a lot of barriers down.
right. And I think the thing that worries me now is that I see like a return to what has used to be in this country in terms of political climate and the tension and all that. And I don't know what it's going to take. I mean, we do have
Yeah,
a lot of
well,
people actively involved in the movement,
yes.
but can we actually penetrate the way he did?
Well, what I think, and sometimes I have to refer to Marcus Garvey,
Hmm.
right along with that. But what I think should happen, because people do talk, and as Caribbean and African people, we have the talents, we have the skills, but for some reason we are not putting them together, combining our skills and efforts to make the movement last. So I think, and I hope that seeing that we are losing some of these legends, that we can come together once and for all and make sure that it happens. That people know we were here, we have been here, and we have done these things. We have contributed to the growth and well being of this country somewhat. It's there, but we have to speak on it. Other people do speak on these things, but for some reason we are kind of bashful when it comes to well, tooting our own horn, and I think maybe that's we should go back to tooting our horns and said, yes, we did do this for the good, not to brag, but just to show the importance and where we need to go if
Well,
we
I
want.
agree. I think it's so
Yeah,
important to document. But,
yes,
as you mentioned this, I know you and I have talked off mic about a lot of the issues that are going on. And I guess it's time that we should segue to some of the problems that we're facing, even as a community. I mean, yesterday the governor unveiled, although it has not been approved by the legislature yet, her budget, and she's calling for certain aspects of bail reform to be relaxed a little bit to give judges more discretion to get some of the criminals off the street and leaving it to them to make decisions. And we also have issues with housing, which seems to be a problem. And you're part of the community board in the Northeast Bronx there. I forgot the numerical number of the community board,
that's 12.
12, right? And
CB
and
12
it's
Bronx.
exactly. And there seems to be a lot of activity in that area. Some favorable and a lot that I
Unfavorable.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, and where's the answer? Are you
Okay.
satisfied with some of the efforts that are being made by the elected officials?
No, I have to say that boldly. No, no, because I think we are being talked at, not being talked to.
Mm,
If you understand what I mean, we know what our needs are. For example, I would say, and as you know from our block, we have written to have like a bump in the road then,
right.
okay,
Speed
and
bump.
just the speed bump. Because yes, you might have stop signs, stop lights, and you have stop signs. But guess what? People are not obedient to these signs. I'm telling you, they will break them and they can't. But if you have a speed bump, guess what? They must stop. They can't go over them. It slows them down. For example, there was a murder was committed in our up from our block.
Just a block away. I was
Oh,
astounded. Yeah.
right. And the murderer escaped. And why do you think that was? He broke all stop signs and whatever. But if there was a bump, and I know that we have the blocks on either side of us have speed bumps, but our block has none. So where do you think the criminal is going to go? They're going to
Wh-
go to the block that, yes.
That's
So
easily accessible, right?
right. So what I'm saying, when we ask for speed bump, we should be listened to because we know what we experience. When the person in charge of that, when they say, "Well, we have counted the driveways, and you have too many driveways, which should be dangerous or whatever for us," and we are saying to you, "We need those speed bumps." Who would you listen to? Not the person who does not live here who makes the decision. You have to listen to the people who live in the block. So that is one thing that I would ask, that we are listened to better than we have been, usual. Because, for example, if a developer comes and say, "I want to put a house or a building in our community," and we think that that building is not really conducive to our well-being and or even our health,
Hmm.
we, we vote. The community board will vote against the building. What do you think will happen? The decision, all of a sudden, the decision is made that it does happen. The developer gets his way, and we want to know, how does that happen? That the developer gets his way
Well,
over the community, and
and the
most
thing
time
is,
the developer
go ahead. I'm sorry.
the developer does not live in our community, does not care about our community. They just see money, and our voices, for some reason, is not strong enough to deter all of these. And we hear of zoning, they rezoned, and oh, it's been zoned for such and such. But then the zoning is bringing ill health to our community. They take away our green spaces and everything, but it's been zoned. Are you So I'm saying, are you zoned to kill? you
Very
know
good point.
and
But
these are some of the things that get me a little perturbed. And as much as I am, of a certain age, and they call me an octogenarian. Okay.
well, you look good for your
For that
age.
for that, for that age, right?
Right?
but
Must be the
but what I'm
coconut
saying,
water or something.
yeah, yeah, well, that's good too. But what I'm saying, we need to be more aggressive, the community, and we need to come together. We don't have to talk about from one island, because I know that some people do that. Oh, well, this one is from Jamaica. This one's We don't care.
Right.
Okay, we are Caribbean people. We thread the same waters. When we're going over, the planes go in the same direction. Okay. And when developers and people from the outside they utilize us, and or whatever we have to offer. They come and they enjoy what we have in the same way for all the islands. So we have to say to them, okay, you're coming and you're enjoying what we have, but what do you give in return? But we have to say it with a common voice. And that's what I see is happening in our community. We don't have a common voice. We are,
Well, I think everyone's affected, if I might, by the same issues. And the things that you're raising, I know this seems germane to just the one district, but it's really global. The
no,
quality of life issues that are reflected in just about any county in the city of New York and outside the city for that matter. It's about the quality of life and,
life.
and, and having people to respect what it is that we've worked and slaved so hard for.
Mhm.
It's just saddens me that, as you mentioned, some of these developers are from the outside and they see dollar signs and they'll come and they'll ring on doorbells. I heard about an incident a couple of days ago on our very block. I won't repeat it. But there are people who are interested in forcing some of the older owners to give up their property. They come with all sorts of strange ideas that we're going to make you millionaires, and really, there's no, at least to my knowledge, I don't see where there's any effort to instill the importance of generational wealth in black families in our community.
Mhm.
We
Yes.
all know we're not going to be here forever.
Oh,
And the deal is that in other cultures, people get that. They seem to understand that, but we have a tendency to minimize what it is that we've struggled so hard to go
mhm.
through.
Yes. But I am not perturbed, because guess what? I'm going to be on the street, and especially with the passing of Harry, knowing what he had done, we have to somehow find a way to continue that type of because he
Effort.
was determined, the determination that he
Hmm.
had. We have to find some way of continuing it. And I think I have found it. And I've talked to you about Hopeful Village.
Right. And
Yeah,
talk a little bit about that because we have a huge audience to
yeah.
listen. Uh, Tell us what
Well,
that's about.
Hopeful Village is we talk about hope, and we know what hope means, right? But we have not given up hope. But it has to be concentrated. We have to be together, not just one island, one group of people. The complete community. And Hopeful Village is, we talk about economics. We talk about health and education first. But let me tell you, without economics, we have no good health or good education. So we have to go back to that economics, building wealth. And yes, we have built wealth here. And as you talked about, people try to get the elders to tempt them with saying, we'll give you cash. And no one gives you cash. But for
Right.
some reason, we'll give you cash for your building. And some people, for some reason, will say, oh, we're going to get, 100,000 in cash. And that doesn't happen,
No, they lowball the price, if anything. Yeah.
but they trick us into doing that. Just from we can talk about what happens in our community. I've seen a woman with a three-family house in 241st Street there, and she gave up that house because the man told her, okay, we her husband passed. And of
Hmm.
course, when your partner passes, and it's very difficult for you to continue, because you're mourning and you're saddened by the passing.
Right.
So sometimes you're vulnerable, and these developers, they see this.
Hmm.
Now this woman has given up her house, and you know what she told me? She said, "Oh, but I got $60,000 in my hand." I said, 60,000?
That's
That
nothing.
house was worth more than almost $1 million.
Right.
You understand? So these are the things that we do not understand money, and the importance and finances. We have to get back to that point, for young people to understand what money means, and how
Exactly.
we need to continue building that wealth, because we have it, but we give it up because
Yeah.
we are tricked out of it.
Well, there is a phenomenon called urban equity theft, and it's happening all over the country. It's not just something that's germane to New York. There's a story of a woman in the 90s in the state of Ohio where she's in court with people who try to take her wealth away at a time when she was vulnerable, not realizing what she was entitled
Right.
to. So, these are things that we have to raise, and it's important that we keep programs like this on so there'll be some familiarity. Somebody will take the time to sit down and listen and watch and hopefully embrace what it is that we're sharing and try to at least instill something in the new generation coming along to tell them the importance of carrying on the tradition like what Harry did. I
Yes.
understand the building that Harry Belafonte lived and died in was a building back in the 50s or the late 40s that he wasn't eligible to move in.
Oh,
So
he
what
had
he
to
did, the
buy it.
minute he became
Mhm.
successful, and I believe there are as many as 40 apartments in that building on the Upper West Side of Manhattan.
Mhm. He
So that
bought it.
says a lot. That in itself is telling of
Hmm.
what his instilling confidence in people who look like us, not to just fall for the nonsense that some of the developers and people, blatantly racist people, didn't want us to reside in certain areas, and that's it.
Yeah, so we have to, so if it's the last thing I do, Harry's name is going to continue. And it's going to continue, where? Right in our building, right here in the Bronx, on Light Street near Dyer Avenue, because we're going to start this thing. I mean, the time is long past. It's overdue for us to continue. We put the burden on all those people who came before us. They did marvelous things, and we continue to sing their praises. But we have to continue their legacy,
You're
and that
absolutely
is,
right. And
yeah,
unfortunately, Sadie, we're running out of time.
yes.
And I just wanted to make sure that we get that information out there. The location of the Jamaica Progressive League headquarters, again, is,
2230 Light Street,
and that's right next to the Dar
near
Avenue
Dyer
subway
Avenue,
station. Yeah.
Dyer Avenue subway station. And that's where we're going to be doing lots of things today. I'm just coming in from a pantry because we do have a food pantry there because we know the food insecurity that is around us. And it's open to everybody, not every nationality. They come
That,
there and they get food.
that's good to hear. And is there a number that we could give out? Not your
Well,
home number, but
I'll give out my, see, it's so personal to me that I'm giving out my own number, 718
okay.
seven one
718.
eight 994 5496.
Okay, so anyone who wants to make contact with you and members of the Jamaican Progressive League, they could call you. I believe that's your home line.
That's my homeline.
Okay.
I
All
pick
right.
this number up before I pick up my cell phone.
Well, that's good to hear. And Sadie, I want to thank you very much once again for taking the time. This was long overdue, and I
Yeah.
had not been doing this show in quite some time. I'm just really thrilled and honored to have you on today. And I wish that Harry could still be here, but that's a beautiful picture and card. Was his birthday
This
card,
was his
right?
birthday, his 95th birthday. And
Right.
can you see it?
Yes, I do. I can't read everything that's on there,
Yes.
but
There's
you know,
your can I read it to you
yeah,
quickly?
yeah,
And
sure, yeah.
it said, Happy 95th, Harry. Your activism has given us hope. Your courage has strengthened us. Your musical talents have energized us. Your pursuit for justice has empowered us. Your legacy inculcates moral responsibility. And now, and this was to him, and I said, now, with your permission and blessing, we'll take the opportunity in joining with others of like mind and continue to build on your rich and impactful legacy to make a reservoir of social wealth, self confidence, and stability for the benefit of future generations.
Okay, our guest has been Sadie Campbell, the Honorable Head and President of the Jamaican Progressive League here in New York. I want to thank you once again for being on with us. It's 59 minutes past the hour, and we have to go. But anyone who wishes to see future programs as some of the ones that we have in our historical file, you're more than welcome to do that through the Our World Media Network. And if you could just hit the subscribe button or send us some coffee or anything to keep us going, we'd appreciate that. Thank you for tuning in, and that wraps and ties this edition of the Urban Algorithm.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me on.
Okay. Very good. Sadie, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Mhm.
Okay, yeah. Thanks. We're off, right? We're off the air? Okay. Thanks again. I really appreciate this.